Okay, here is the final product for the 1998 Honda Accord EX four-door sedan 2.3 liter automatic transmission. And this is the JDM engine and transmission swap from a car that originally has 279,000 miles on it. And I'm going to a JDM engine with approximately 45 to 65,000 miles on it, so that's a good thing. I started up for the first time and it didn't click or anything, and I realized that somehow or another I either knocked off or forgot to connect the starter solenoid spade button, which is right down below that lock-up solenoid. So it's always helpful to have your starter solenoid connected for your engine to start. So once I did that, I was able to start right up. I am running a little fast idle at about 1200 RPM. I think normally these cars are supposed to run about 600 to 800, maybe around 750, something like that. So it warms up. After about 3 minutes, I get an idle surge from 1200 RPM to about 2300 RPM. And I've done a little checking, and one of the things you can do with that is to see or make sure that your radiator fluid is all the way full and does not have any air in it. And mine was a little low, so I opened this valve right here on the back part of the thermostat housing and bled all the excess air and added more radiator fluid to it. So I believe that problem is gone. I am having that idle surge still after doing that. So my next troubleshooting was to check, make sure my idle control valve, which is way back there on the very, very back of that hose behind the throttle body, right up near the firewall. I am getting 12 volts and check the resistance is good, so I know I'm getting current to it. However, I am still continuing to get that idle surge from 1200 to 2300 RPMs, which I'll show you here in a minute when I turn this on. So I don't appear to have any, or I can't hear or see any vacuum leaks, and it doesn't seem to be operating like it has a vacuum leak, but I don't currently have a vacuum pump to check it, so maybe I'll do that later. So I don't know if it's the idle air control valve is kind of what I've gotten it down to. I am getting a code on my engine light, check engine light, which is a P0505, which is the idle air control valve malfunction. So I initially started this thing up with the JDM idle air control valve on here, or excuse me, the US one, actually, because I switched the top of this throttle body with the JDM one because mine has an extra air vacuum line on it that the JDM engine did not have on their top of their throttle body. So needless to say, I'm still troubleshooting, and I'm not sure exactly what the problem is. I've pretty much just about crossed over everything with the exception of actually replacing the idle air control valve. So what I'm going to do is I have ordered one actually off of eBay. They're for 30 bucks. I'm going to try one of those cheap ones and see if it works. I did check my local parts store. They're about $180 to $210 depending on where you get it. So I thought I'd try it for the cheaper version first. I did try the JDM one off of their throttle body, and that one did not work. I've also cleaned, here the actual valve is, I've actually cleaned the inside of this really well and put it back on, let it run. I'm still getting the same high idle at startup at about 1200 RPMs to 1500, somewhere in that range, and then at about 3 to 4 minutes I'm getting that surging idle from 1200 to 2300 RPMs. So I'm hoping that if I replace that idle air control valve, it will eliminate my problems with the idle surge. Incidentally, I did not have a problem with the original engine surging like that, so the engine was actually running fine. It was the transmission that was giving me trouble, but I decided, since this car had 280,000 miles on it, to go ahead and change the engine and the transmission at the same time, because it's a whole lot easier. And by the time you order the transmission and get it shipped out to the West Coast, it is only a couple $100 more. You can get the whole freaking engine, so that's what I did. Anyway, I'm going to start up here in just a second and let you see and hear